Okay, so today we're talking about the Bulgarian split squat. This is a phenomenal exercise. I put it in so many programs. It's super effective and has a lot of benefits. It's also one of those that everyone loves to hate, but we're going to go over the proper technique because this is pretty technical. There's a lot of mistakes that people make, so we want to make sure that you're doing it properly. So the first thing that you're going to do is elevate your foot on a chair, on a box, on a bench, whatever you have. And I prefer to have your foot flat. It's gonna allow you for proper depth and it's gonna be less hard on your toes and the ball of your foot than if you have your heel up like this. So try a flat foot, that will probably make it feel better. And your stance of your front leg shouldn't be that wide. So I'll see people doing them like this, but then I'm not able to get enough depth. So we don't want a super wide stance, but you also don't want a super close stance like this because then my heel's gonna come up on the way down. So you generally want a stance as close as possible while allowing full depth, but without your heel coming up. And a trick for kind of getting into position is rather than starting up here and having to like hop around to find your stance, start from the floor and then adjust your foot from there and then just stand up. It'll make it easier. And then from there, you also want a slight lean forward. So there's gonna be a slight angle of my back. I'm shooting my butt back a little bit rather than being completely upright like this, because if I'm super upright, A, it's going to be harder for me to hit depth, B, I'm more likely to be arching my back. So we want to keep that neutral spine slightly leaning forward. That's also going to help to engage the glute. And then from there, you want to make sure that you're gripping the floor with your foot. So your big toe, your pinky toe, and your heel should all be firmly planted into the ground. And I'm going to make sure my knee is pushed out. Think about spreading the floor apart with that one foot, because it's super common on the way up for people's knees to cave in. But if I'm spreading the floor apart, gripping the ground, that's not going to happen. So I'm gripping the floor, slightly lean forward, I've got my stance, and then I'm just going to bend my knee and let my back knee almost touch the ground and stand up. It's also super common for people to just go halfway down. Like I said, we want your back knee to almost touch the ground and then come up. Slightly lean forward and squat down. If elevating your foot is not something that you can do, start by just doing a split squat from the floor like this. It's not going to require as much mobility. It's going to be a shorter range of motion. And also start with a lower box first. The higher the box is, the more mobility it's going to require. So if you start with one that is lower to the ground, that is going to be helpful. And you can also hold on to something with one hand to start if you struggle with stability. I am holding on to a chair, and I can definitely do that while doing my split squat. That's going to help make sure my knee doesn't cave in, because we really want to avoid that. You don't want your knee to be caving in when you come up. Your knee can go over your toe like this, but your heel has to stay on the ground and your knee should be in the same line that my toes are. I hope this was helpful. Make sure to incorporate these into your workouts. Think about all these cues while you perform them, and they'll just be that much more effective.